Tell us about the DE2 amendment with your bill, and then we'll move on to Mr. Lee and Mr. Burris to help us walk through the spreadsheet and the sections of the DE2 amendment. Members, please raise your hand if you have a technical or clarifying question as Mr. Lee or Mr. Burris are walking us through the amendment. We'll try to get to your questions as we go. If we miss you, we will return to your question once the walkthrough is completed. And if you have any questions for the author, please wait until the end of the walkthrough. So with that, Mr. Chair, go ahead and describe the DE2.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members, and I'll formally move this bill on Thursday when we do markup. But I did want to make some opening comments now. I won't be commenting on Thursday on the bill. So I just wanted to give just a very, very general, broad overview here for the next few minutes. And then we'll rely on Mr. Lee and Mr. Burris to get into all of the details of both the policy and finance aspects of this. Before we do that, speaking of Mr. Burris and Mr. Lee, I want to personally thank them for just incredible work that they have done year in and year out, day in and day out for this committee, for all of us on both sides of the aisle. I just have come to appreciate them more and more every year. Their insights, their advice, their suggestions, their ability to turn things around very quickly, their ability to take people's ideas and translate them into finance and policy is extraordinary. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank our staff who has been working very, very hard on this bill. Mr. Howe, Ms. Nelson, and Mr. Dodge, thank you for all of your hard work. And of course, Vice Chair Cagle has been very integral to our process here. So thanks to all of you. And so members, as I present this bill, I wanted to mention that I've never really dedicated a bill to anybody before, but I would like to sort of dedicate our work collectively this year to the memory of my friend and mentor, Representative Bernie Leader, who chaired this committee many times. And the reason I mention him, he had passed away this past summer. I felt that any transportation bill should really, I just feel like there's a Bernie Leader test, if you will. And the Bernie Leader test to me is really, does the bill do two things? It's a pretty simple test, just as Bernie was fairly straightforward guy. So I think he would hopefully appreciate that there's only two questions that would be posed in a bill in his memory. Number one, does the bill help people across the state? Is it truly statewide? Are people in the core cities and the suburbs in greater Minnesota and the regional centers all being assisted and helped in this bill? That is what I strive for. I believe the answer is yes to that. The second question, in order to pass, I believe, a Bernie Leader test is, are all modes addressed in the legislation? Do we have roads and bridges addressed? Do we have public transportation and active transportation and even passenger rail addressed in this bill? Is every mode of transportation, freight, infrastructure, is that addressed in the legislation? And I believe the answer is yes. It's truly a multimodal bill. And so, you know, in that spirit, I also set some other criteria, 4 questions, if you will. We just had a Passover celebration where we asked 4 questions at the Stater. So now I'm asking 4 questions of this bill. Hopefully that we can answer them in the affirmative. 4 lenses, if you will. So does the legislation address safety issues adequately? Are we enhancing the safety of our transportation system in all ways? And I believe that we do that, both in terms of our infrastructure. Remember, back in January, we had the Stearns County engineer showed us footage of a bridge literally crumbling and falling apart in Stearns County. And there are hundreds of bridges like that that are fracture critical. That's a safety issue. We had the Winona County engineer show us a rutted county road That is a safety issue. It's also something that we should not have go unaddressed in our rural communities and really across the entire state. Colonel Langer came and talked about the increase in speeding and the safety issues around that. We provide more resources for the State Patrol to address that question. And finally, I was very moved by the hearing we had right before our break. Representative Stansted had brought local government officials from her area talking about the Snowball Lake section around Highway 169 on the Iron Range, and numerous fatalities taking place in that particular stretch of road. And so we address that stretch of road in this bill, but also others in that district that may have safety issues. And of course, across the state, we have many roads that are in that category. And so we address safety. Secondly, what about the economic development potential of transportation infrastructure investments? How does transportation aid in our COVID recovery? I believe we answer that question with new resources, new revenue, roads, bridges, public transportation, active transportation. We know that investments in infrastructure, particularly roads, bridges, and public transit, are some of our best bang for our public dollar in terms of return on investment, economic return, safety return, job access return. We have that in our bill. Particularly, we heard testimony that public transportation in particular is a great value for our public investment. And so we believe that jobs and economic development are enhanced through this bill. Thirdly, we are in a period of racial reckoning in this country, and equity issues have to be front and center in anything we do, and particularly in transportation. And so we heard on a couple of occasions moving testimony from Reconnect Rondo in terms of how an infrastructure plan can address racial equity and inclusion. We have money set aside for that project. We heard from people from the disability community and equity issues related to their concerns. Our sales tax for transit will help address long-term chronic funding issues with metro mobility. And the work that we're doing on pedestrian safety and active transportation has an equity component, as well as our investments in local bus and arterial bus rapid transit that make it easier for people to access jobs. Those are equity issues, and they are addressed. And finally, the last lens that I would like us to consider as we evaluate this bill is climate. We are in the midst of a climate crisis that is accelerating. Paul Douglas came and testified that the science is in, it's clear. Climate change is accelerating, and transportation is now the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. Frank Kulesh from the PCA testified, and we are not making the gains in addressing that in the transportation sector that we should. And so this bill is a climate-friendly bill that looks at reducing vehicle miles traveled, electrification of our infrastructure, and significant new investments in public transit. Those are all three strategies that will reduce greenhouse gases in the transportation sector. And finally, this isn't necessarily one of the four questions, but it's a question I want to pose. It goes without saying that we are in fairly uncharted waters when it comes to public discourse and civility. And I hope that in presenting this bill, which has provisions from both sides of the aisle, I think reflects an excellent working relationship that Representative Petersburg and I have been able to forge. We will have disagreements, and we will have profound disagreements, which I think will be aired on Thursday. But I hope in some small way, this bill can help bridge our growing partisan divide. Some of you may be surprised that we don't have an increase in the fee on motor fuels. We have an inflationary adjustment. Some of you may be surprised. That's a very profound change from 2 years ago. And some of you may be surprised that we don't claw back the general fund allocation that was in the 2017 legislation that was referenced earlier. Those are two huge concessions that we have made in an attempt to reach across the aisle, in an attempt to make some sort of progress with the Senate to move forward that a bill in divided government that we have in Minnesota, I think we're one of two states now with divided government, we are going to have to make concessions to each other's priorities. And so I know that the steep, and while I do support, don't get me wrong, members, while I do support a steep increase in the motor fuels fee, as I have in 2019, I still do. I still believe it's appropriate. And while I have profound objections to using general fund money in the HUTD, I understand that those are two issues of great concern to the other side of the aisle. And that's why they're not in here. And I hope that the other side can reach out to us and accept some of the things that you may have problems with so that we can move forward together in some small way. There is going to be two major federal initiatives on infrastructure that are forthcoming. The proposal by President Biden, we don't know what final form it will take, but it's a serious and important proposal he made last week. And then we have the reauthorization of the federal transportation bill. That's coming up in fall. And we understand that there may be some state matches that have to be put forward in order to access some of that federal funding, particularly in the reauthorization. This bill positions us to take advantage of those federal opportunities with the new revenue that we have both in public transit and in the road and bridge area. And I'll just conclude by saying it's important, again, circling back to the Bernie leader test. There are some important provisions for both the urban core, the suburban communities, and greater Minnesota and the regional centers in this bill. We have new revenue for small cities. And while I know Representative Olson's name may not appear on the spreadsheet, I want to thank him for his work on the small cities issue along with Representative Lippert. I think we have a very strong proposal where we take some of that new revenue and use it for small cities and townships. We also add new revenue for greater Minnesota transit through that indexing piece that we have and the transfer from the general fund. So that's critical. And I also failed to mention the important equity piece that involves the driver's license for all. And while Representative Koznick's name may not appear on a spreadsheet, I appreciate his work on that issue as well as the transit safety issue, where he added two very important amendments to help move those bills along. Representative Bernardi, thank you for your work on active transportation. Representative Hausman, thank you for your passion on passenger rail, and Representative Cagle for all of the hard work that you've done on making sure that we have new revenue for roads and bridges in this bill. And to all of you on both sides of the aisle, we've had a great year together. And Representative Elkins, I see you for some reason popped up, and I think you get the award for most provisions in this bill. You've been at it from before session started last fall, getting your bills in, and I appreciate your work. So with that, members, Representative Richardson, I also want to thank you for your just passion and work on really digging in on the land bridge issue and the equity issues, as well as bringing forward so many issues related to people with disabilities. That's also an equity, really critical equity issue. So everybody has just made tremendous contributions on both sides of the aisle, and I want to thank you. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'm done with my opening comments, and I think I'll hand it back to you, Vice Chair Cagle.
Thank you, Chair Hornstein. And it looks like we'd like to go to Mr. Lee to walk us through the fiscal piece of the bill.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. And John, I think it might be helpful to put up the PDF of the revenue items spreadsheet so members can follow along.
This one, Mr. Lee, or the other one you were referring to?
The other one.
Just not.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair and members, this spreadsheet is a summary of the tax changes proposed in Article 3 of the bill. So you can get more detail on how the language works and sort of that level of detail in the language if you look at Article 3, but it shows the fiscal impact. The first piece is change in the motor fuels tax. And that would be the current rate would be pegged to an inflator that is maintained by the Federal Highway Administration for highway construction cost, or the Highway Construction Cost Index. Based off of past trends with that index, the estimated change in the percent rate can be seen on line 3. That's the cumulative rate change from the current 28.5-cent fuels tax, and then the year-over-year change can be seen on line 4. So that there's the estimated revenue from those changes on line 5, and then in current law, there's a few requirements around service stations that border states that have lower fuels tax rates, and so that you can see that credit on line 6. And also a portion of the fuels tax by statute is directed towards DNR uses that are attributable to ATVs, off-road vehicles, and go to DNR accounts for forest and park roads. Then moving down the spreadsheet on the registration tax changes, and again, for detail on kind of how these changes work, you can go to Article 3. But there's a change in the depreciation schedule for motor vehicles in the first 4 years of the 10-year window of the registration tax. So that change keeps them at a slightly higher rate. And in addition to that, there's also a high value vehicle surcharge. And you see the estimates of revenue on lines 13 and 14 for those two items. And I should say both the fuels tax and the registration tax proceeds are dedicated 100% to the HUTD, with the exception of the qualifying station credit and the DNR transfers. Then moving down, there's also a change in the motor vehicle sales tax rate. So currently the motor vehicle sales tax applies just to motor vehicles. It does not include the legacy amount or that rate. And the current law, motor vehicle sales tax is at 6.5%. In the proposed DE amendment in Article 3, there is a change of that rate to 6.875%. And that incremental increase is then divided into 2 ways, and per the Minnesota Constitution, between the Highway User Tax Distribution Fund, which is 60%, and 40%, which goes to transit. On line 20 is the change that goes to the HUTD. So those 3 changes add up to line 24. And then there's one other piece that has to do with HUTD. And John, if you could scroll down a little bit to the auto parts attributed sales tax. So as the committee was discussing earlier, since the 2017 legislature, a portion of the sales tax, general sales tax attributable to auto parts has been statutorily directed towards the HUTD. And that amount is on line 28, so 145.6 million a year. What the proposal in this DE amendment would do is direct a piece of that HUTD amount on line 30, 31, and 32 to some different uses. Small cities on line 30, and I should note that those percentages that you can see there are the percentage of the 145 million, and there's a sort of a phase-in amount in fiscal 22-23, and then township roads and Greater Minnesota Transit, and you can see how much each of those uses receive. That is totaled on line 34 as the decrease in HUTD from auto parts, but on line 35, that's the remaining amount of auto parts that's still going to HUTD. So if you add line 24 and line 34 together, there's still a net increase to the HUTD that's on line 38. And those next few lines, John, if you could scroll down a bit, is the calculation of the constitutional formula of the highway user tax distribution fund to the trunk highway fund, county state aid, municipal state aid streets, and the 5% set aside for the flexible highway and township roads and bridges. And that line 45 is in addition to the to the auto parts change above. Then scrolling down a little bit further to the next page. So as I said earlier, there's the rate change to the motor vehicle sales tax. That increment for transit can be found on line 51. And for transit, there's a further division between Greater Minnesota Transit and Metro Area Transit that can be found on lines 32 and 33. And then the last tax item in the DE is starting on line 55, and that's the a 0.5% sales tax in a subset of the Twin Cities metropolitan area. That is the cities that are currently within the transit capital taxing district. And so that is sort of like a subset of cities within the 7 counties, and it mostly doesn't include like further out either townships or towns. So the estimated revenue raised is on line 57, and you can see in fiscal year 2022 that's 109 million, and that's because the tax would start in January 1 of calendar 2022, and so that would be half of the state fiscal year. And then you can see during full years that would generate between 266 million and 271 million a year. And then scrolling down, I won't cover these too much. These are just tables showing this change compared to current resources for the various funds and uses that I mentioned earlier. And John, if you could move on to the appropriations tracking spreadsheet. Thanks. And for members, it might be best to print this off on a legal size piece of paper if you can. It's a little easier to follow along. And just to get your bearings on how this appropriations tracking spreadsheet works, this reflects the appropriations in Article 1 of the bill. And in the language, there typically isn't a distinction over whether or not funding amount is an increase or a decrease. And so the spreadsheet tries to give members a sense of kind of what the historic funding levels have been and what is being proposed in the DE. Very quickly, if you look at the top of the page on the upper left-hand side, you can see column A is a brief description of the program or the change item. Column B is the fund. Then column C is the funding level for the current biennium or the current 2 years that was set in the 2019 session. And the base that was set for this session and the tails in the 2019 session, columns F and I. And then the governor's recommendations in columns J through N. And then the DE amendment before the committee in columns O through U. So you can see in column J and O that the governor and this DE amendment also makes changes to the appropriation in fiscal 2021, which is the fiscal year that we're currently in. So really quickly, I'll just highlight various change items. So that's the first one that you'd see is on line 21. That is a proposed change in funding level. The items that don't have change items are at the base amount set 2 years ago. So on line 21, this is the governor's rec for an increase in the aeronautics fund related to unmanned aerial or drone enforcement. Then moving down to lines 35 and 36. The first one, line 35, is a governor's recommended increase from the Trunk Highway Fund for administering Greater Minnesota Transit. And then on line 36 is a provision in unique to this DE. That's 3.4 million in one-time general fund appropriation for active transportation. Then moving on to safe routes to school, there is a $1.5 million one-time increase in that appropriation. The base is 500,000 that you can see on line 42, and so for 1 year that becomes 2 million, and then it goes back to the base amount of 500,000 for FY23 and the tails. And in case I hadn't said this earlier, the tails refers to the next biennium, so that's fiscal years 24 and 25. And then the final change items on this page are on line 35 and 34. Well, excuse me, the line 35 is a governor's change item that the DE did not include. And line 54 is a item in this DE that is 2.5 million in one-time appropriation from the general fund for an appropriation for the second train to Chicago. And then John, if you could go to the next page. So under freight, there's two governor's change items. There are increases for the freight appropriation that are included in this DE amendment. And then there is another item included in this DE amendment for electric vehicle infrastructure that would set a new appropriation from the Special Revenue Fund on line 74. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but part of if you look at column P, the 2.47 million is that's partly supported by general fund transfer that happens later in the spreadsheet and later in the bill. And then the 344,000 and 340 to 537,000 amount in the tails is based off of a change that is later in the bill that directs a portion of the surcharge that electric vehicles pay rather than it going to the HUTD to electric vehicle infrastructure. So this is the direct appropriation for electric vehicle infrastructure. Then moving on to state roads, you can see a number of governor's change items on line 88, 89, and 90, and then an appropriations increase line on line 91. So typically, unless there are specific riders, so that's where the language after the appropriation specifies a dollar amount. There isn't, it doesn't require, if a rider isn't there, it doesn't require an agency to do something that is outside the specifications of the appropriation. So in these cases, absent that, you typically just see an appropriations increase with a few exceptions. But on line 91, this would fund the governor's recommended level of line 88 and 90, plus some additional revenue that is based off of the increase in revenue from the three taxes that increase funds to the HUTD. And this is for state roads operations and maintenance. And then going down to the next state roads item, planning and research, there's a one-time general fund appropriation in this category of 6.2 million for the 94 Rondo Freeway cap planning and design in fiscal 2022, and $500,000 one-time appropriation for the first Mndot district for a highway corridor planning that is ridered in the appropriation, and then an appropriations increase that matches the governor's level on line 102. And then John, if you could move to the next page, please. All right. Then there's a number, as you can see on line 112 through 114, there's a number of governor's change items, and then the appropriations increase that's in this DE that funds it at the governor's level plus an amount because of the revenue increase for program delivery. And then for state road construction, and this is the largest appropriation for Mndot, there's a recognition of federal funds on line 142, and then a increase that is the result of the revenue changes in the tax article on line 125. And I usually won't mention base amounts, but so an example of not changing the bases is on line 129 for Courts of Commerce, and that maintains the $25 million a year appropriation. That's in the DE. As was mentioned earlier, there is a authorization of $400 million in trunk highway bonds in the bill, authorized in fiscal year 2024. So on line 135, you can see the incremental debt service increase that is required to cover those additional bond authorizations. And then moving down to state radio communications, there is the governor's recommended funding level increase from the trunk highway fund, and separating out what was formerly a rider for $300,000 for a radio tower on Lake of the Isles. That's just becomes its own line in the bill language. Then John, if you could move on to the next page. All right, for local roads, these are a result of the constitutional formula from the revenue increases in Article 3. So kind of the math behind how those money flow. On line 167 for county state aid highways, and on line 176 for municipal state aid streets. And then there's a new appropriation for small cities on line 183. This is from the Special Revenue Fund, which is sort of where the accounting where those dollars would go would come from the auto parts attributable sales tax. So you can see that amount on line 183. Then for Mndot agency management, there is a rider change that's on line 189. That's the governor's recommended change of $100,000 a year from the general fund for tribal training assistance. And then on line 199, that amount is the governor's recommended increase for lines 169 and 167, but there's no rider language, so it just shows up as an appropriations increase, but it is at the governor's requested level. Then John, if you could move to the next page, please. So on line for buildings, on line 208 is the governor's recommended funding increase for buildings. And then on line 211 is the governor's recommended level of increase, but no specific riders, so it just shows up as an appropriations increase, but it's at the governor's requested level. And then on line 229, there is in the appropriations article, there is a requirement that Mndot cancel $271,000 in general fund spending from fiscal 2021. This was part of the executive branch required administrative holdbacks of all executive agencies from the general fund. And so essentially this money will be canceled, and this is recognizing that cancellation. There's also one for the DPS, or Department of Public Safety later in the bill. Then moving down to the Metropolitan Council, this funding level is largely the base funding level set in the budget bill 2 years ago, with a few changes in the transit systems operations appropriation. On line 244, there's a bus emissions study that will be done by the MPCA that costs $32,000 a year. And then some one-time items on lines 245, 246, and 247, with $300,000 for the I-94 or I-494 corridor travel demand management organization, $250,000 for a Highway 55 corridor transit study, and $500,000 for zero emissions transit vehicle transition. Then the base level of funding for Metro Mobility on line 251. Then moving to the next page. Thank you, John. So there's only one change item on this page, and this for members is the administrative portions of the Department of Public Safety. And a little bit of background: the Department of Public Safety Legislative Committee jurisdiction is shared with the Public Safety Committee, and the Transportation Committee has jurisdiction over the administrative components of public safety, the State Patrol, the Department of Driver and Vehicle Services and the Pipeline Safety. So this is just a portion of the total agency that the Transportation Committee has jurisdiction over. So the one change item here is a governor's recommended change that increases in public safety support. That is a operating adjustment in that adds to 135,000 for the biennium and increase. And as I mentioned before, with Mndot, there's a administrative holdback and recognition of a cancellation from fiscal 2021, and you can see that in column O. Then, John, if you could move to the next page, please. All right, and so this is the State Patrol's main appropriation for patrolling highways. The base appropriation is largely from the Trunk Highway Fund, and you can see that base amount on line 294, and then the change items below. So there's a number of governor's recommended change items, and the House, as with many Mndot appropriations, does not have specific riders for this appropriations increase, but funds it at the governor's level for lines 300, 301, and 302. And 300 is in recognition of the 8.4% salary increase for the State Patrol under this appropriation. And then on line 301 is for body-worn cameras for the State Patrol. And on line 302 is a governor's revised rec for State Patrol investments that is adding additional sworn officers. And I should also note that they're under this appropriation, not in appropriations language, but there's an allowance for a $1.7 million extension of an appropriation made in fiscal 2021 for a trooper academy, but it's not a new spending. It's just allowing previously authorized spending to continue. And there's also 1.166 million in additional spending in fiscal 2021 for the patrolling highways. Then moving down to commercial vehicle enforcement, this is another part of the State Patrol. There's the governor's recommended funding level of increase that you can see on line 318. That's the combination of the body-worn cameras and the salary increase. Then moving down to capital security, there's a fiscal 2021 appropriation of 1.512 million in the current fiscal year. And then the governor's recommended funding level for the operating adjustment for capital security, as with the other components of the State Patrol, salary increase, body-worn cameras, and additional FTEs specific to the state capital. And then, John, if you could move to the next page, please. As the final unit of the State Patrol, there's the governor's recommended funding increase for the salaries and body-worn cameras, and an additional $100,000 appropriation in the current fiscal year. And this is paid out of the HUTD rather than the Trunk Highway Fund or General Fund. Then moving on to the Department of Driver and Vehicle Services. First, driver services, and these are paid out of special revenue accounts that are generated from fees from transactions with DVS. So there is the governor's level of funding increase plus some additional funding under driver services on line 356. That additional amount includes one rider rider that I actually forgot to put on the spreadsheet that was 170,000 in the first year for implementation of changes in driver eligibility. And the appropriation amount also includes some other costs from bills heard in the committee, and that has been related to policy language in the bill. Then moving on to vehicle services, there is the governor's recommended level of funding increase, and as I mentioned before, also a higher level of funding in recognition of other requirements in the bill, one of them including the 150,000 in the first year for implementation of self-service kiosks. then there is also a governor's recommended funding for one-time staffing of 2.4 million from the vehicle services account. And for a little bit of background on this, this was authorized in the legislature last year, but because of the COVID pandemic, it was not spent. So there's that. So if you could move to the next page, please, John. So this is another operating adjustment on line 393 for traffic safety at the governor's recommended funding level. And then a one-time general fund appropriation of 3.195 million for hazardous substance transportation incident preparedness. And that completes DPS. And so then as a result of tax changes that I mentioned earlier, and an additional item that was also a governor's recommendation for bonding authority for the Metropolitan Council that incurs a property tax change in the a subset of the 7-county metro area. There's some things called tax interactions, and they're essentially what happens when tax rates change in one area and have an impact or offsetting effect on aids or spending in other tax areas. So on line 416 is a tax interaction related to the property tax change. And so essentially this is in recognition of a change in renters or homeowners property tax aids. And then as a result of the fuels tax changes, there's also an interaction with counties that have casinos, that host casinos, have a general fund aid set such depending on the rate of the motor fuels tax. So this is in recognition of that aid to counties with the casinos. And then John, if you could move on to the next page. So this is the revenue page, and this, rather than showing spending, shows either revenue changes or impacts, and also transfers between funds. So it can be a little confusing, but the numbers that show up that are positive here are a revenue increase, and the numbers that show up in parentheses or a negative are a revenue decrease. So it's sort of the opposite of what you saw on the first few pages of the spreadsheet. So the first one is mentioned earlier, related to policy provision on unmanned aircraft system enforcement. This is a governor's rec and is in anticipation of a revenue increase to the aeronautics fund. And then there is both a governor's rec and an item that is included in this DE, though slightly modified, for electric vehicle surcharge. And as I mentioned earlier, the governor's recommendation and the language in this DE contains a provision that uses a portion of the surcharge on electric vehicles and directs it towards electric vehicle infrastructure. So that shows up as a loss to the Highway User Tax Distribution Fund, or parentheses, on line 436, and then an increase to the Special Revenue Fund on line 437. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's also a general fund transfer, shows up as a loss to the general fund on line 238, and a gain to the Special Revenue Fund on line 239. Moving on, there's a governor's recommendation that is also in the DE that would use a part of the fines collected for citations or traffic citations, and rather than that being deposited in the trunk highway fund, be directed towards grade crossing safety replacement devices. So that's a loss to the trunk highway fund on line 441, and a gain to the rail safety special revenue fund account on line 442. And then there is also a governor's rec and a item included in the DE that would increase the number of inspectors for railroads, and this is paid for by a railroad assessment. And so you can see the revenue from that assessment on line 443. On line 445 and 446 is recognition of federal dollars going to Mndot for transportation. And then on lines 448 through 457 is some of the calculations for the sort of the table that I showed earlier. This is a little harder to read, but I have to show it. And I will note that I did find one error on line 457 that number wouldn't match the Greater Minnesota Transit amount. So that, for example, on line or on column P, that should be closer to 700,000. So I'll be cleaning that up in the next version of the spreadsheet. There's one other tax item that I'm still waiting to hear back from revenue on, and that's on line 458. That is a provision that has an impact on vehicle rental tax change, or is a tax change. And there would be a slight impact to the Highways Your Tax Distribution Fund, but I won't know until there is a revenue note from Department of Revenue on that. Then moving on to the public safety area, there's a governor's recommendation for deposit of confiscated money or abandoned money, excuse me, on the general fund. You can see that on line 461. Then some governor's recommended items that are also included in the DE on line 462 and 463 related to modifying fees for driver's license suspensions. And then on line 465 through 468 are changes to some DVS fees and trip permits. These are largely governor's recommended items. On line, and this is specific to the DE amendment on line 469 and 467 is a transfer from the vehicle services account in the special revenue fund to the driver services account. The driver services account was a little bit lower and below the fund target, and so this transfer balanced out those two funds. And then there's also a transfer from the vehicle services account to the general fund in fiscal 2024. That's on line 471 and 472. Then there's a few more tax interactions. The first one on line 475 is related to the Metropolitan Council transit capital borrowing. And then on line 276 and 277 are the recognition of some other fuels tax related tax interactions. And excuse me, 477 is a registration tax interaction. And then John, if you can move to the next page. This is a summary of the revenue change items. And if you can go to the last page there. This is a summary of the general fund change items, or the general fund level of funding, I should say, and the change from base. So if you go down to line 529, this includes all of the spending changes and revenue changes to the general, specific just to the general fund. So you can see the governor's changes in fiscal year 2021 and 2022 and 2023 is a $28.747 million change from base. And the DE amendment is a 39.603 change from base. And then you can see the target and the difference and a summary of the trunk highway bond authorization below. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I see Representative Petersburg has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Always detailed as always. Just double checking, what is the net in the second biennium, 24, 25 in the tails? Does that balance out as well? I haven't had a chance to add them all up.
Mr. Lee?
Certainly, Mr. Chair and Representative Petersburg. The change in the tails is a $16 million increase in the general fund over base. 16.038 to be precise.
Representative Petersburg?
Thank you. So are we talking that there's going to be $16 million more in next biennium that can be spent on transportation items?
Mr. Lee?
Madam Chair and Representative Petersburg, that's correct. The base sets the funding level or the tails target, or excuse me, this bill sets the base level of spending in the tails. It doesn't appropriate money in the tails, but it sets what in 2 years the legislature will consider sort of the starting point or the base. And so the DE amendment proposes that for fiscal 2024 and 2025, it is $16 million higher than the current base amount. And most of those increases, a large piece of those increases relate to the capital security changes under DPS specific to or within the state patrol. And I can add up exactly how much that is in just a second.
No, that's okay for now, Mr. Lee. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Petersburg. I don't see any other questions. I'll give it a minute if anybody has any further questions for Mr. Lee. Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Chair. Could you just talk a little bit, Mr. Lee? You had mentioned the qualifying station credit. I think I get the general about that, but I haven't heard much about that. Could you just explain how that works for the gas tax increase?
Mr. Lee.
Certainly, Mr. Chair and Representative Koznick. Yeah, so I'm just reading from the Department of Revenue preliminary revenue note on this, and they explained that it's a credit to provided for gasoline that is delivered to a station within 7.5 miles of a border to a state that has a excise gas tax rate of 3 cents per gallon more than the tax, or in which Minnesota has a rate that is 3 cents per gallon more than the tax that is in the state that is contiguous to that service station within 7.5 miles.
Representative Koznick.
Thank you. So if you want to fill up with gas, you save a little bit of money at the border. Is that the deal?
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Chair and Representative Koznick, yeah, I think it depends on the state that the border would apply, because I believe Wisconsin and Iowa has either a higher or pretty close rate. I think it's South Dakota and North Dakota that are the lower rates.
Representative Koznick.
Great. That's kind of what I was looking for, some clarification on that. And I think I'll have another question for Mr. Burris later.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so perhaps we can move on to Mr. Burris.
Madam Chair and members, I will be walking through the HF1684 DE2 amendment, and I'll step through the sections of the amendment. Article 1 is the appropriations article, and I won't go into much detail on that since Mr. Lee just walked through all of the appropriations, the spending authority for fiscal year 21, as well as the upcoming biennium and transfers. I'll just touch on a couple of aspects of it. The first section in Article 1 lays out the structure for the appropriations article and defines some terms, establishing that, among other things, that the default appropriation is from the trunk highway fund. That's a bit different from what you might see in other budget areas. The trunk highway fund is sort of the starting point rather than the general fund. Section 2 is the appropriations to the Department of Transportation, to Mndot, and it makes the various appropriations across the areas that Mr. Lee had walked through. There are also a number of provisions around transfers, carry forward authority, some contingent appropriations if there's additional revenue or revenue adjustments, and some flexibility around spending, shifting dollars between the first year and the second year of the biennium, as well as legislative reporting requirements. And then Section 3 is makes the appropriations to the Metropolitan Council for transportation-related functions of the council, so transit operations and metro mobility. Section 4 contains the appropriations to the Department of Public Safety, the administrative functions, as well as the State Patrol, Driver and Vehicle Services, and a couple other offices within the department. And then Section 5 contains the transfers that Mr. Lee had outlined between a couple of accounts and also involving the general fund. And Section 6 contains fiscal year 2021 administrative holdback cancellations, or cancellations that reflect the holdbacks in the current fiscal year. Section 7 sets requirements for the structure for the budget that is proposed by the executive branch in the next biennium, the next time around. And then finally, in this article, Section 8 provides an extension of spending authority to the State Patrol from a 2019 appropriation so that funds could continue to be used into part of fiscal year 2022 for a State Patrol Trooper Academy. Moving then to Article 2, this article contains trunk highway bonding authority and appropriations. Section 1 is kind of similar to the structure for the appropriations article, lays out some definitions and structural design for the article. Section 2 contains the core, which is appropriations of trunk highway bond proceeds to Mndot. That is split 175 million for the Quarters of Commerce program and 225 million for state road construction. That's just general state road construction. Both of those are made available in fiscal year 2024. So there's a little bit of a delay relative to the upcoming biennial budget. Section 3, also in this article, makes an appropriation to MMB for bond management expenses. And then finally, Section 4 contains the actual authorization to sell and issue trunk highway bonds. Moving then to Article 3, this article contains the various transportation-related taxes. Again, I'll just touch on them fairly briefly. You can always return back if there are questions, but Mr. Lee had outlined in discussion of the revenue sheet, these provisions. Section 1 is a conforming change. Section 2 is a definitional update that goes along with the substantive change found in Section 3, which is a couple of modifications to the registration tax involving a higher rate for some higher value vehicles, as well as some adjustments to the depreciation schedule for vehicles in some of the earlier years of life. Section 4 contains the reallocation of revenue from an electric vehicle surcharge so that 50% up to $1 million per year goes into a new electric vehicle infrastructure account that's being established in the bill. And there's a director appropriation in Article 1 from that account, as well as programmatic language that's elsewhere in the bill. Next, sections 5 and 6 modify the motor fuels tax rates based on indexing using a cost index that is produced federally, National Highway Construction Cost Index. And then Section 7 contains a reallocation of revenue from the general sales tax that's attributed to auto parts. And this lays out a percentage-based reallocation of the share of that revenue that currently is deposited in the Highway User Tax Distribution Fund. This section also contains some technical changes to restructure definitions and establish subdivisions. Next is Section 8, which is another conforming change. It goes along with Section 9, which directs the Metropolitan Council to impose a transit sales tax within the transit taxing district. And the section lays out the general administrative requirements that are parallel to other local area sales taxes. It identifies use of funds for transit generally and in alignment with transportation policy planning. Lays out a couple of administrative requirements. And the provision also includes authority for the Metropolitan Council to issue bonds that would be backed by the sales tax revenue stream. Section 10 contains the rate increase from 6.5 to 6.875 for the motor vehicle sales tax. And Section 11 is the other change to the motor vehicle sales tax. And this creates an additional surcharge on an increment of the sales price of motor vehicles. That increment would start at sales prices that are more than double the average sales price. That's at a rate of 4%. And then the last piece of the Article 3 is a phase-in. It sets some alternative percentages of the reallocation of general sales tax attributed to auto parts revenue for the upcoming 2 fiscal years. So what you see earlier in the statutory language would be in place, on an ongoing basis, but for fiscal years 22 and 23, slightly adjusted percentage distributions going to the same sources, but in differing amounts, and that's laid out in Section 12. And then Article 4, I'll just pause for a second to get some water. Excuse me. Article 4 contains a series of sections that are reflective of a bill from Representative Winkler on driver's license eligibility, as well as documentation requirements to obtain a driver's license or identification card without demonstrating lawful legal presence in the United States. Section 1 is a conforming change on data practices. Section 2 is also a conforming change on updating references. Section 3 eliminates a certification requirement as part of the application process. One of the core elements of the proposal is found in Section 4, and this specifies that a person isn't required to demonstrate lawful presence. It also establishes that some of the administrative rules around documentation and establishment of legal presence don't apply for applicants for a non-compliant license or identification card. And in the statutory terminology, non-compliant refers to a license or ID card that doesn't meet all requirements of the Federal Real ID Act. Section 5, along with sections 6 and 7, lay out the documentation requirements and essentially broaden the list of the types of documents that can be used to establish identity, date of birth, and Minnesota residency when applying for a non-compliant card. And then after that, sections 8 and 9 establish for driver's licenses and for identification cards marking requirements for those who do not demonstrate legal presence when applying for a ID card or driver's license, or as well as for those who have a temporary authorized status for presence in the US. The next series of sections 10, 11, and 12 cover data practices issues around those who have applied for a license in these contexts. The core requirements are found in Section 12, and it's largely a set of restrictions on data sharing. Section 13 repeals a limitation on administrative rulemaking that's currently in place that prevents the Department of Public Safety from going through administrative rules or going through a rulemaking process that it would involve changes to driver's license requirements. Then finally, the changes in this article are made effective October 1 for licenses issued on or after that date. Moving next to Article 5, there are a series of changes from a couple of different bills that had been heard in committee earlier this session in transportation that involve bicycles, electric assisted bicycles, and other active transportation provisions. The first series of sections 1, 2, and 3 refer to definitions of vehicle to exclude more explicitly electric assisted bicycles from vehicle types, more in the statutory DNR world, if you will. Section 4 is part of a series of or related set of definition changes to centralize and update types of bikeway and pathway definitions in state statute. Section 5 is a directive to the Department of Mndot, the Department of Transportation, regarding assistance to local units of government. And then following that, there are a couple of sections that relate to state bicycle routes, including establishing or designating more formally the existing trail, Mississippi River Trail, as a state bicycle route, and establishing a Jim Oberstar Bikeway as a state bicycle route as well. Section 9 is another definition update to specify that electric assisted bicycles are not included as part of the general definition in the motor vehicle registration statutes. And then Section 10 is a special license plate authorized. The Pedal Minnesota special plates lays out eligibility, design requirements, provides for plate transfer, as well as disposition of contributed funds that would be a donation that would be made as part of application for the plate. Sections 11 and 12 are additional definition updates for bikes and bikeways. Part of the effect of the change in section 11 is to establish that bicycle lanes include shoulders. And then sections 13 through 16 update the definitions for electric assisted bicycles, creating a couple of, or 3 different classifications of e-bike based on the motorized capability of the device. Section 17 is another update to definitions on motor vehicles involving electric assisted bicycles. And section 18 creates a new definition in traffic regulations that goes along with bicycle regulation operating rules updates that are also in this article. Speaking of those, section 19, along with sections 20 and 21, have a series of changes on riding rules for bicycles. And then section 21 has a technical shift of some language involving electric assisted bicycles that's substantially reproduced in section 22, which again refers to riding rules, and this is for updates to electric assisted bicycles. Section 23 also deals with e-bikes in setting some equipment and labeling requirements. Following that, section 24 reestablishes a committee and renames it the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. This was something that had been in place in state statute a few years ago and expired. This would put it back into place. Compared to the prior language, would revise some of the duties. The statute specifies membership, and some of the administrative provisions requires an annual reporting to Mndot, and would have it expire at the end of fiscal year 2031.
Mr. Burris, we have about 2 minutes left, and and members, we will be reconvening at 5 o'clock, so there will be time for questions. Do you think Mr. Burris, do you think you'll be able to get through the rest of it in 2 minutes?
Not at this rate, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Chair Hornstein?
Madam Chair, yes, I think that you know, we have sufficient time, I believe, at 5 o'clock for Mr. Burris to finish the walkthrough, have questions, and then have testimony from state agencies. So it's, I think, important for folks to hear from Mr. Burris and
Sure.
the complete testimony that he has. But
Madam Chair, I might just touch on the last couple of sections to wrap up this article.
Perfect.
Stopping point. So section 25 revises a requirement on use of a portion of federal funds to kind of update and increase the threshold of dollars that would need to go towards transportation alternatives projects. And then section 26 is a technical change that involves centralizing bike-related definitions. And then finally, all of the active transportation and bicycle-related provisions would be made effective on August 1st of this year. And with that, Madam Chair, maybe Article 6 could be taken up
At 5 o'clock?
hearing.
Sounds good. So we have about 30 seconds remaining. So just want to remind members that we will be back at 5 o'clock this evening, where Mr. Burris will wrap up the walkthrough, and then we'll have time for additional questions.